What's going on, everyone? It's your host, like always, Adam, of the Baseball World Today podcast. Another day where I wasn't planning on making an episode, but I'm forced into it, which I guess is a really good thing because it means a lot is happening in MLB free agency right now, which is always a good thing. So, last episode I split up into two parts. This whole episode kind of just revolves around the Blue Jays and the Mets a bit. I'm just going to take a quick moment to talk about the Jose Quintana deal, which I think is a good, not great signing by the Angels. At $8 million, it makes sense since they need to fill that rotation, but he's certainly not the best guy out there. Let's just get on to the big news, though. George Springer to the Blue Jays. 6-year, $150 million. That's a bit bigger than I certainly imagined it being. We were hearing 5 years, $125 million before. I would prefer to stay with that if I've been Blue Jays, but understandable they had to go to the 6 years. They're probably prime for the Mets. And now they have a 6-year window with all their young players, and that's when they have to try and do something. Last year they had 32-28, made the last playoff seed that got annihilated by the Rays, as you expect, but now we're going to go through this roster, and listen, now they're also interested in Michael Brantley, which, if you look through this roster, it makes sense, because they still really do have a lot of holes, quite frankly. So, around the infield, they're pretty stacked, quite frankly. We know about all those young players, Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vlad. But in the outfield, before this, they only had Randall Grichuk, who's solid, Luis Gurriel Jr., solid, Teoscar Hernandez, solid, Jonathan Davis, all right. Now you throw in Springer and possibly Brantley. Well, that's a serious lineup now. That's two serious spots filled in the lineup, especially in the outfield. Now we're really talking about a serious lineup. The problem is the pitching staff is still very not up to date. They could really use a couple signings. Right now it's really just Hyun-Jin Ryu, Nate Peterson, who are both very good, obviously, but then it falls off with Tanner Roark, Ross Stripling, who I'm very high on. They got a lot of young pitchers, though, so I'm willing to assume that some of those guys get deployed during the season, but to start, they're going to certainly need to make a signing. And bullpen is very, very weak, too. So I'm going to imagine they make some moves there, but man, so if they are managed to bring in Brantley, too, that's major for holes filled in the outfield. They need a third baseman or not, depending on what they want to do with Vlad, but they definitely should get some sort of corner infield type as a utility guy almost, just to be safe. And then from there, you just work on the pitching staff a ton. I don't think Brantley is the most important move, but if Springer and the Jays are pushing for it, I certainly wouldn't deter him from doing that. So yeah, we're looking at the Blue Jays 38-28 with a team that had a lot to improve on, and they made one big improvement so far. Hopefully they can make a new one soon and see if they can really make some noise in what's going to be a very good AL East division next year. Now, we're going to talk quickly about how this impacts the Mets. So, right now, the Mets are looking at an outfield where it's Dominic Smith, Brandon Nimmo, and Michael Conforto. Now, that is not very good defensively. Obviously, that outfield won't happen, though. If we do get a DH, Dom Smith will DH or play first with Pete. I digress, however. What hurts is they could go get like a Brantley, realistically, after this, and still be fine with it. But they really need a center fielder, I believe. So that's why not getting Springer hurts. I wonder if they'll be interested in a Jackie Bradley Jr. now. His market has opened up now that Springer's signed, so even a Marisnik, which would certainly be a kind of disaster scenario. Just a guy to play defense there, and maybe you can put in late in games. You could start Nimmo in center and put in a defensive fielder type, a real defensive fielder type later in the games, but I feel like Jackie would make sense for this team. Again, obviously not an ideal case for Springer, but if they use the money elsewhere, for example, Brad Hand, and then are able to sign another solid player in the outfield, then you won't feel as bad about it. Obviously, if they do sign Springer, we're looking at another serious hitter in that lineup. That's pretty good already, but you have to understand that this wasn't probably their main priority. So I believe if they go sign another reliever and make some moves there, that'd be really good. Oh, and I actually failed to mention that the Blue Jays actually did make another move already. Kirby Yates so we got to talk about that, obviously. Kirby Yates really did struggle last year, but before that was like one of the best relievers ever. So I believe it was reported that he was only going to get $8 million only, and then it was reported he was going to get $5 million. We're going to check really quickly just to make sure, but Kirby Yates, this is a really good. If they sign him for $5 million, then oh baby, that's a great value move. So listen, either way, I think that's a great value move. Let me think for a second. Okay, so according to Ken, it's going to be between 5 and 5.5 million. That was tweeted 3 hours ago, and he hasn't said anything since. I thought 8 was going to be a solid deal for him, but 5 million is, wow, that's really good value, I think. Kind of need him to bounce back for sure, but I'd be quite confident in him doing that. I think any team can sign him for that much and feel confident that they got a good deal, quite frankly. So, yeah. So that's a hole in the bullpen. Also signed Tyler Chatwood yesterday. I still think they need another reliever, quite frankly, or a starter, or both. But if I have them, I think the game plan is going to be see if you can get Brantley on a good value, corner infield guy, and then just add to that staff. At some point, the young guys are going to come up, hopefully, for the Blue Jays on the staff and really dominate, but you kind of need to bridge the gap a little, so that's why you got to really work on that staff altogether. This is a really good day for the Blue Jays, quite frankly. We could honestly see Springer sign with them at about 3 a.m. at some point, just because that's how it is, but yeah, that's really good for them. So, sorry. So now, where do the Mets go? Well, I would have to say they go after Hand first, and then explore the center fielder market. It's pretty thin, unfortunately. Ooh, actually a good move really could be an Eddie Rosario, quite frankly. I think that would be a really good move for them, unless they want to go all-out defense now and just sign Jackie. Both a couple of good options, quite frankly. Now, this probably hurts a lot for the Mets, but I think the Mets can certainly rebound from this and make a couple good moves to right the ship and it still improve the team a lot. So, yeah. That's all I got on this. Glad to see a lot of moves are happening in the offseason. George Springer, 6 years, $150 million to the Blue Jays, the biggest contract ever in their history. Jose Quintana, Angels, 1 year, $8 million. Kirby Yates, 1 year, $5 million to the Blue Jays. In addition to Tyler Chatwood yesterday, 2 solid additions to that bullpen. Also, Blue Jays could be close to signing Michael Brantley soon. Yeah, really good move for the Blue Jays. I hate to be repetitive, but it really is. Like I said, now they got a good 6-year window. They got to be aggressive in this time span because I'm not sure how difficult it's going to be for them to re-sign someone like a Vlad or a Cavan or a Bo Bichette, given that this is their biggest contract ever, so I'm not sure what the money situation exactly is for them. But yeah, that's about all I got on this. Hopefully the Blue Jays can get another deal done soon, same with the Mets, and we'll have more to talk about. Thank you all for listening.